can already tell you there's no way on earth this car is going to fit. And I'm pretty sure at this point it's obvious why. Hey everyone, Brandon here, Socket Monkey Garage, and I'm pretty sure based on what you can see behind me, I've made my decision. Hopefully you caught my live stream, but if you didn't, I'm at the Dodge dealer and it's time to take delivery. So come with me as I head inside, wrap up the last bits of this lease agreement, get the keys, and take this thing home. Hey everyone, sorry about that. A little bit of a technical difficulty, but I did just want to drop in here live real quick before I take the rest of the day to film the rest of these videos regarding the car, just to share a reveal actually here. Let's see, what key do I have in my pocket? Oh, that's the key, EV9 key. Where did it go? What did I do with it? Where could it be? Ah, there it is. I'm pretty sure those of you that are familiar with this car know that is the key for the new Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack. I'm about to head inside, work with Trevor, my sales advisor, to wrap this deal up, and I will film the delivery of this car and hopefully have that uploaded for you either later this weekend or early next week. But before I say goodbye, let's just do a real quick walk around and show you what this car looks like in triple nickel. So I might be a little biased here, but I think so far out of all of the cars, the Daytonas that I've seen that are in the darker colors, the reds, the blacks, the dark blues like After Dark, I cannot help but think that this is the best color they have out for this car right now. Now my story may change if they release it in Plum Crazy or one of the other, great classic Mopar colors. But I just think that the contrast of that triple nickel paint with the carbon in black or carbon in suede black wheels and trim pieces, I just like that real sharp contrast there, especially the taillights. I think it really makes those taillights pop, and it's just, I think, looks so sharp. In fact, I was just commenting to my sales advisor here as I came to prepare for this and pointed out that body line right there. I've seen these cars in person. I've seen tons of videos. I've seen tons of pictures. Most of the cars were not in this color. I never noticed that body line until now. And that's what I love about grays and silvers, is how they really accentuate the lines that the designers put in that give those subtle cues to lead your eye along the side of that car. And especially, let's come over here. You got another shot of that wide body stance there in triple nickel. So again, guys, sorry for the delay. Life sometimes throws some things at you and you just have to take a break, but I'm hoping that it was worth it, and that you'll all stick with me here as I wrap this deal up today and take this baby home. First startup. You ready? Oh boy. Clear up there. sounds pretty good.
Loud.
Yeah.
It's like surprisingly loud.
Yeah. Make
Did
it.
that move? Wow.
Does it? Can't wait to try that out. Did you want to hop in and I'll drive you over? All right, let me get the seat position adjusted here. Always one of those things that you need to do when you get a new car. And it always takes me probably far longer than it really should, to be honest with you. All right, let's see here. Oh, so the seat does have a little bit of thigh support that extends. It's not like the BMWs where it's actually a piece that pops up. It's actually built into the seat. That's actually pretty nice. So I always like to have my backside drop down as low as it'll go, and it looks like it's already there. And then I like to raise that thigh support up as much as possible. Let's see. Since there's no clutch in this, the seating position, I can be a little bit liberal with my pedal distance on the left-hand side there. But that dead pedal, it's a good solid dead pedal. These Pilates shoes fit perfectly on it. If you don't have a pair and you like to drive, I highly recommend catching them on sale and grabbing a pair. So let's see here. All right. Now let's get that steering wheel. I usually like my steering wheel pretty low. That may take some time to adjust, and you may see me fidget with it as I'm driving. All right, well, the deal is done. Everything's inked. Hopefully the ink is dry. Now, of course, you always sign stuff that says it's a conditional delivery, but hopefully everything goes through. I am exceedingly happy with what my monthly payment is going to be and cannot wait to share the details of that with you. But for now, it's time for me to head home. Let's see how she drives. So one thing I've noticed when you put this car in reverse that I never noticed before is it makes an additional EV safety sound. I guess it's part of the backup safety and security. But it's not a sound that I've heard before, and I wasn't aware that they made them. But it is interesting. I just put it into track mode and you can clearly hear that Fratsonic exhaust magnify in volume. On the display here, I switched it to home, and it looks like someone set up the widgets here on the EV pages. Got the instant consumption showing power going to both of those dual motors, and then the battery level and the estimated time to charge. Regen is high. I'm going to try backing that down some. Car feels good. Car feels great. Feels quite similar to the other Scat pack I drove in my test drive video. Creep setting must be on. As soon as I lifted off the brake pedal and started to roll forward like a manual transmission ICE-powered vehicle. In track mode, that Fatsonic exhaust, it clearly has a note and a tone to it that says I'm something other than a V8, but yet it still has very much that low end, very much that rumble, and that feel, the seat of your pants, that butt dyno from a, I guess, exhaust tuning perspective. It feels like a combustion engine is responding to your throttle input. It is interesting. Might want to adjust the steering wheel. Feels a little close. I typically like to do this while I'm driving, but there we go. That makes the shoulders feel a little more comfortable. It is a Friday afternoon, and it's quite nearly rush hour here in Chattanooga, so there will be quite a bit of traffic, which means I have to behave myself as I take this home. Let's cycle through some of these drive modes. We're on just a straight flat area here with probably about a 30-mile-an-hour average speed. I'm in track mode now. That's drag. Ooh. So the region reset itself, and volume level didn't necessarily change too much. Custom now, almost the exhaust is almost imperceptible from inside the car, but you can hear that sound at a much greater distance, which means it's only playing outside, and it's playing at a very low volume for sure. Here's wet snow, same thing. No real noticeable feel in pedal response. Maybe a little bit, almost like a bit of an added software buffer there to keep you from, I guess, unhooking those tires in slick conditions. Auto, again, almost imperceptible. Now in sport, sound comes back, but still not as loud and pronounced as it is in back to track mode. And again, I've noticed others have pointed this out on the Daytona Owners Forum. The regen resets itself, which is interesting. I wonder if that's something we can get resolved. Would be nice if your regen settings did maintain your preference between drive modes. Having to change the drive mode and then change that regen setting is a little counterintuitive. I hope you guys can see through the windshield here. I do have my wife and the EV9 playing chase vehicle. Hopefully we're getting some good exterior shots of this absolutely gorgeous car. I think it looks incredible, and I can tell you, as I've taken moments to take my eyes off the road in front of me, everyone else that I pass by is snapping their necks around trying to figure out what exactly this thing is. It's incredibly quiet. Obviously, that exhaust does diminish that quietness, but even just in auto here, even with the Fratsonic exhaust still engaged, but in a much tamer setting, this car is as smooth and as quiet and as rattle-free as that Kia EV9, and that Kia EV9 has always impressed me with just how quiet the cabin is. Now, this car clearly has larger tires. It has a larger contact patch, and other than the very faint hint of that Fratsonic exhaust, all I'm really hearing are the tires, just the road noise from the tires, and it's almost imperceptible. I don't even think I've had the climate control on this entire time. The car's maintained a comfortable temperature. It is 59 degrees outside, a little humid. Get that to a reasonable temperature here. Wow, that air conditioning kicked in almost immediately. Very quiet. Fan speed I don't think is too high, but can't even actually hear the blower. Getting that seating position perfected slowly. It usually takes me probably about 500 miles in a car to really tweak it. I probably drive my wife nuts. I'm always saving my seat settings every time we come to a traffic light, make a few tweaks. Let's get it back in track mode. I gotta hear that Fratsonic. There we go. See what this thing sounds like inside a tunnel. Almost just as fun as hearing a 392 roaring through one of these, but definitely not quite the same. Boy, that takes some getting used to have that regen reset itself back to full strength when making drive mode changes. I can't help but think that that's something that got overlooked. I hope that's something they can fix in an update, because it is odd. You get used to the pedal off coasting, or e-coasting as I like to refer to it in the owner's manual. You get used to that pedal off coasting in one mode, make a mode switch, and then you go to let off the throttle and it responds differently, and it's a little unsettling right at first. I'm really hoping this is something that, with some feedback, maybe the team at Dodge can roll out an update that addresses that rather quickly. will say again, I mentioned this in my first impressions video. It has been something that has been called out by other YouTubers and other reviewers who have driven this car or at least sat in it. This haptic touch-sensitive strip here under the infotainment screen. Mine seems to have the same bit of misalignment, but other owners on the Dodge Charger Daytona Owners Forum have indicated that you can kind of work it a little bit. It sort of falls into place. And I think once you accept and understand that these aren't intended to be pressed buttons, they're intended to be tapped buttons, it makes it a little more livable. I'll be honest with you, it's responding well. You know, I'm not trying to actually physically depress some type of mechanical switch. It is just a touch-sensitive input, and it does haptically respond to that input. I think it's something, after a bit of time, I'm not really going to care much about. I'm very much focused on how much fun this is to drive. It's a shame I took delivery and ended up having to drive home essentially in rush hour traffic, but I will get out some more this weekend. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, and I will be more than happy to share what that looks like with you all. Thanks for coming along with me. This has been a very long journey, a very long road, and it's obviously not come to an end. It's just time for the next chapter. And I'm really hoping that this car continues to be as fun and as exciting as it has been throughout this entire saga. You know, maybe it got my blood pumping and my adrenaline going for reasons that it shouldn't, but I have a feeling all of that will quickly be forgotten when it starts to get that blood pumping for all the right reasons. When I can find a bit of open road and an opportunity to slam my finger down on that power shot button and unleash all of those 670 horsepower from those two dual motors there with all-wheel drive, I'm hoping that it just plants me into the back of this seat the way the EV9 just absolutely throws you back when you're in sport mode and you just slam that pedal to the floor. And you will obviously all be along with me when that happens. So I'm gonna keep heading home, getting used to the dimensions of the car. Honestly, it is a big car, but I said it in my last video, it doesn't feel as big, and the visibility is incredible, absolutely incredible. I do want to say this too. I doubt it can be seen from the camera over my right shoulder here, but this heads-up display has to be one of the biggest, brightest, kind of in-your-face heads-up displays that I have ever seen in a vehicle, and I don't hate it. I actually kind of like it. I think because I'm in track mode, it's defaulted to showing the G-force meter right under a very large digital display of my speed. I guess those are two things, one in track mode that come in handy, but I'm looking forward to going through the menu and the settings and getting that heads-up display dialed in just right so that it provides me all the relevant information and actionable insights into my driving that will just make this car even more fun to own. Even in the lowest regen setting, when you do take your foot off the throttle input and the regen kicks in, it does have this electromechanical wind down sound. You know, I don't want to say, you know, you have to be careful with your analogies, especially when you talk about electric vehicles, because people love to throw around terms like toaster, microwave, blender, whatever electronic gadget you have in your kitchen, which honestly just sounds like some kind of thinly veiled misogynistic dog whistle. But I am going to use a power tool in this analogy, and if you have a table saw and you're familiar with, once you cut it off and that blade and that motor winds down,
it's similar to that, very similar to that. And you know, I don't hate it. I don't think it's half bad. I kind of like it. I am glad that they went with a replica of a gear shift lever here instead of a knob or a set of buttons or a touch screen, because your hand does want to naturally gravitate towards holding on to something, and it is almost perfectly placed. For me, it could be a little bit further forward, but it's nice to have that there, and it does, from a lateral perspective, side to side, no movement at all. So you can really kind of get your hand on there and give it a good grab to kind of stabilize yourself in corners. I do need to get these seat bolsters hugging me a little bit better. There we go. It could be, honestly, I will have to say, from a side bolstering perspective, I think the EV9 seating beats these. But it's still there. It's just not quite as aggressive as it can be in the Kia EV9. Okay, so I'm under an overpass here, and the attitude adjustment lighting, I don't know if the cameras are picking it up, but it is, I think it's quite interesting. It has this very deep, you know, in some of the other cars like the EV9, the BMW Z4 that I had, it had just clearly like strips. And the EV9 does have some kind of indirect vehicle lighting, but this just seems to kind of come up from somewhere deep inside the vehicle. And I've made this analogy before with this car, but I've never said it publicly. As a child, or kind of, I guess, more as a early teenager, I was absolutely fascinated with the movie The Wraith. And I don't know if you're familiar with it at all. I'll put a link in the description, or I'll drop in a pop-up here with a link to the video. But it essentially featured this kind of unearthly concept car from Chrysler, and it looked very much similar to the Dodge Daytona at the time. And while it was a turbocharged, I want to say a 4-cylinder engine, in the movie they implied and they gave it some sound effects and some vehicle lighting that made it appear as if it were electrical. And this car and that blue glow coming up from there just really kind of gives that Wraith vibe with this quasi-electric combustion engine combined sound it's making. I finally feel like I have my Wraith, and I'm getting to drive it today, and that makes me really happy. If you can't see the smile on my face, it handles and absorbs the bumps incredibly well. Chattanooga is not known for having the smoothest pothole-free streets in the nation. In fact, it's got some very rough roads, and for an automotive enthusiast, especially with cars that have very little ground clearance or very tight suspensions, sport-tuned suspensions, it can be frustrating. But I am in track mode. Let's get it in sport mode here, which may tighten up the suspension more. But my point is, so far, some of the potholes or the divots in the road that have been unavoidable have just been eaten up by this car. It's incredibly comfortable. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a big, long, kind of super coupe-like vehicle, big and cushy, comfortable to drive, you know, kind of a whale on the road, but an absolute monster when you needed it to be. And so far, while I haven't really been able to open this car up, it certainly fits within that big, but not feeling big, cushy, quiet, comfortable vehicle. I'm really astounded. It's really a shame that there's been a very minor but vocal crowd of haters on this car, because they really are robbing not only themselves, but they're robbing the rest of you, if you're listening to them and you believe them, an opportunity to really truly experience this car or to be open-minded about it. And I am telling you, if you're a fan of modern Mopar cars, if you've had a 300, a Magnum, a Charger, or a Challenger, if you get into this car and you drive it, you will be immediately impressed and understand and realize the level of work, the level of effort, and the engineering that went into it to provide this level of ride and this quality of a ride, and yet still give you the option when you want to pop it into the right drive mode, slam that pedal down to the floor, and unleash all holy electrical hell on the roads in front of you. So I'm nearly home, and I'm going to start to wrap this video up. I do think I owe everyone the opportunity to at least watch me, which I'm sure many of you can probably relate to, that first time that you try to fit a new car in your garage, especially one that may be a bit tight. And so, you know, in all fairness, I think it's only right that I film that instead of trying to hide the fact that I may make 15 to 16 different back and forth attempts to get it in. And I am quite honestly not incredibly confident that I'm going to be able to open the doors once I do, but let's give it a try. But before we get to that, I do again just want to say thank you so very much for all of you who are currently subscribing. And those of you who haven't, if you could, before you click away from this video, I would appreciate it. I promise to bring you a lot more content on this car. I've got it for the next 2 years, and I can almost guarantee you I'm going to be putting out a video every week featuring this vehicle. And I hope that you come back, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. So let's get home and let's see if this fits in my garage. All right, so here at home, we live up on a hill. Our driveway does start very suddenly and steep. It goes to quite a grade. And it is always that first moment when I bring a new car home that, is it going to scrape? Oh, hey, all right, no scrapage. Gotta love it when that happens. I can already tell you there's no way on earth this car is going to fit. And I'm pretty sure at this point it's obvious why. There is no way on earth this car is going to fit in that garage.
I thought you measured it.
I did. And what I determined was it would have never fit. But what would fit is a 2025 BMW Z4 M40i, Hanshalter edition. And I think that means we're going to have to leave this in here comfortably safe and warm. And I'm going to have to take this over to the guys at Southeast Imports, who are going to graciously allow me to keep it there until I can figure out what exactly I'm going to do for garage space and all of these new cars. So with that, I want to get inside and get something to eat. I really do appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much for coming on this adventure. Hopefully you checked out the live stream and this wasn't a big surprise for you. And if you are interested in the BMW, I already have a video of taking delivery of that car and a quick drive that I will be uploading soon as well. So this is Brandon. This is the craziness that is Socket Monkey Garage. And thanks again. I hope to see you in the next one.